Okay, so today is Monday, 7th December of 2015. 2 days ago on Saturday, I had my first ever experience with an entheogen, we'll define that in a second, called Bufo Alvarius, also known as OTAC, O-T-A-C, and that's a toad, by the way. And so what you take is essentially an extremely powerful version of DMT. Right? It's 5-MeO-DMT. I'll write all the details in the article or description of this video. And Terrence McKenna, if you've never heard of him, look him up. He's probably the most famous, at least on the internet, of the psychonauts, people who have experienced all sorts of psychedelics and things. And he says that Bufo Alvarius is the most powerful entheogen on the planet. Now, we haven't explored all the planets, so we might find something more powerful one day. But in any case, he says essentially you wouldn't, even if there was something else, you wouldn't need it. It's just, it's complete. That's the best word I can find to describe this experience. It's complete, and it's you that's complete. I'm guessing that makes absolutely no sense to you. And I'll try to elaborate a little bit on my experience, but I cannot tell you in words or in any other way what I experienced. And you have to understand that the more I would try to tell you what I experienced, the less you would know, because the more you would think you know, the more you try to imagine something, and the more you try to think, okay, I've got a vague idea of what it meant. No. The more you would think you know what it is, the less you would actually have the slightest clue of what it is. So, in a sense, I'd be better off not saying a single word to you, and you'd still be closer to the truth as to what this experience is. The problem is, the way I see it, there are a lot of people who need to start helping themselves. We're not, to generalize a bit, we are not in touch with ourselves. We're not. We are inundated with thoughts from our mind, and our mind, unfortunately, doesn't know anything. It can't know anything, in fact. And that, again, is going to sound very strange, I know, but obviously it won't sound strange to you once you've done this, if you find it in you to do this. And I hope you will offer yourself this, because it's to get in touch with yourself, to find out what your truth is, and that's the only truth there is. It's yours. It's the only truth you'll ever find. It's your own truth, and this gives you that, or rather, it reminds you that it's there within you and that it always has been. And so I really hope that you will want to see that for yourself. I really hope that you will give yourself that gift. Again, that you will essentially accept to see what's within you, and to free yourself. It's to free yourself of lies, to free yourself of all the things that you are not. It's amazing. I'm going to get a bit emotional in this thing, okay? So you'll have to bear with me, but and as I say this, I start to feel that sort of vibration in my body, my whole body, in my legs, in my arms. I can start to feel it, because I'm getting in touch with myself. And that's something that you feel very, very strongly during this experience. And again, there are really no words. If I had to put it on a scale, 1 to 1 billion, or a billion, or you could put as many zeros on there as you like. You can make the scale as large as you like. Words is somewhere between 0 and 1, and this experience is right at the other end. And when you're in the experience, at least this is how it was for me, and I'll tell you in a few minutes how, what the other experiences were for some of the other people, because they were all very different, because they correspond to you. And when I was in the experience, the more I would connect to my truth, the more I would accept it and rid myself of judgment, my own judgment. Judgment, a notion that, or a thought or something that exists only in my mind and nowhere else. And that became so clear at the end. It was amazing. I mean, it's an absolute revelation to me to realize that thoughts exist only in my mind and nowhere else, and they have no intrinsic value to them. There's no intrinsically good or bad value, really. But judgment is not who I am. I did not come here as a being with judgment. I didn't. I didn't come with fear. I came with curiosity, a desire to live. I came with a desire to live. I came with a desire to live! And I came without shame. I came without guilt. I came with love. And that was it. Because that's actually all there is, man. And now I'm talking like, stereotypical junkie, but I'm just being really sincere. That's all there is, and I'm actually talking to myself as well. That's all there is. And that's all we have within us. That's all we came with. We came free. And I yelled that at the top of my lungs. You don't know how long. For me, it felt like an hour. People told me it must have been at least half an hour. I don't know how long my time frame was completely bamboozled. I don't know if that's my word for it. That's my universal term, bamboozled. I use that all the time. I like that, and I use it with my brother that I love very much. And I was just yelling out in every language that I know, and I know 2.5, English, French, and Spanish. And I know how to say thank you in German, so I was using that one as well. And I felt so limited to know how to say thank you in just 4 languages. I was like, oh, come on, what the fuck, man? Why just 4? There are so many ways of saying thank you. You've got to learn more, and I'm going to have to learn more. And I know I need to learn more ways of saying thank you. Because there are never enough ways to say thank you. There are never enough ways to express how grateful you are for being here in this experience. That's how we arrived here. That's how we arrived. And yes, our mind got a little bit messed up along the way, got a little bit polluted with noise or static, and our experiences and pain or whatever, fear, which is lack of love. All right, it's the opposite of love. The opposite of love is not hate. It's fear. And we came here without fear because we came here as just love. That's it. And I know this sounds so cheesy. I know it. It sounds so cheesy, like so many of you watching this, if anybody is, are thinking, oh, religious stuff or whatever, and because that's the sort of thing that we hear. And yeah, religions probably did come to people through this sort of experience, but then in my view, they got very, very messed up, and I do not see organized religion as something spiritual, as something that people should get into. Really, really not. And I can tell you that for people that go to these things, a lot of them, even in a very, very Catholic country, a lot of them seem to not be religious. But you cannot consider yourself really atheist in a way, because it doesn't mean anything, and because believing that there is no God is just the same as believing there's a God. It's believing that you know. And honestly, as as George Harrison says in, I think it's the song It's All Too Much, he says, the more I learn, the less I know. And that is really, really true. And, you know, of course, philosophers have said it, you know, the only thing I know is that I know nothing. Well, yeah, if you manage to get to that point, then great, then you're on the right track, because our mind does really know nothing. It can not know anything. That's just simply impossible, because all the things that you think exist only in your mind. That's the only place they exist. They're just in your mind. So how can you know anything? How could you possibly know anything? The only things you know, so to speak, are what you feel. And you need to go and get that in your heart, because they're not in your mind. Your heart and your mind are two really separate things, right? And you are not your mind. You are not your mind. And that's another thing I was yelling at the top of my lungs, you know. I am not my mind. I am better than this, you know. Screaming out, you know, come on, man! You're better than this! And just really, really yelling out things, forgetting that there were people around me watching me, listening to me. And I could hear voices, you know, mostly encouragements, you know, like, yeah, come on, get it out, man. Things like that, which are kind of nice, but also a little bit disrupting. But at the same time, it made me aware that, yes, judgment was there. Well, no, that I thought that there was judgment around me. And I knew in this experience, it was just so clear that that was what it was about. I knew that I had to get rid of that. And the way I could know was that I felt in all my being, in my body, but in my mind, in my heart, in everything that I am here in this like physical experience, I could feel fantastically well. And I don't know if in flow is the word, or I could feel these fantastic vibrations in all my body and in my hands, especially in the ends of my fingers. I could feel the vibrations in different points, like here I could feel it more, and in fact when I'm telling you this I can feel it ever so slightly. In the experience it's very strong, but I can feel the vibrations a bit stronger here than here or here, and I was just experimenting to see where I could find them. And right, you know, there are other points where you can feel them, and I don't know what that's due to. I don't know if it's just the flow of blood in my hands. I don't know if it's because of electromagnetic fields in our body that you can feel. I have no clue, really. But when you're in flow with who you really are, which is, in this case, was to get rid of judgment, it felt fantastic. And that's how I knew that that's what I was. Because it was the way I was being, letting go of judgment, was resonating with myself and my being. It's like, I don't know if this makes any sense. I was resonating with myself. And so sometimes I would just say, I am free. Because I didn't want to say it out too loud because people would think I was a nutter. But every time I really let it out and go, I am free! I started to feel fucking amazing. And so I'd feel this thing fade off with time. It would just slowly fade off. But every time I connected with that, every time I let go of the thing, every time I said, I am not judgment! Je suis libre de tout jugement! Soy libre de juzgamiento! Every time I would do that, it would just start to feel great. And I can feel it a bit now. I can feel it. Because it does demand a little bit of effort for me to do that, even in front of you. And there's no one here right now, but I know some people are going to watch this. And there is a part of my mind going, don't do that. They're going to think you're crazy. But now I know how good it feels to say to my mind, no, you're fooling me, and You don't fool me. I am better than that. And you're just in my mind. You're just a thought, and that's it. You're nothing. And yeah, judgment doesn't exist outside of my mind. And so it feels absolutely amazing. Now, you're in there, and inevitably you start thinking of the people that you love, because you found yourself for the first time that you can remember. You've been reminded of who you really are and what you're not. And it feels so amazing. It's so like out of this world, but really it's just in this world. It's like deep inside you, to a point deeper than you can possibly conceive in your mind, than you can possibly imagine. And so you think of the people that you love, that you know are not connected to that they haven't been able to connect to that yet. Just as I hadn't without this. I've done ayahuasca 6 times, and I've had some great experiences, but I never had anything like this. This is, on a scale of 1 to 10, ayahuasca so far in my experience would be 2 or 3, and this is, I don't know, it's off the scale, man. It's maybe it's 10, maybe it's 20, maybe it's 50, maybe it's 1,000. I don't know. It's just, there's no words. There's no words. As far as what I was seeing, you look up fractals on the internet and you'll see geometrical triangles, fractals, white, yellowish white light, the same color as the smoke, I think. That was basically what I was seeing, but that's of absolutely no importance. Absolutely no importance. What mattered is what was going on inside me. And so I cried. I cried for my mother. I cried for my brother. I cried a little bit for my dad. That's a bit harder because he's in my mind he's more far gone, but probably he's not. He's just the same as you or me. We've got this fantastic thing. I don't know what to call it yet. We've all got it in us. We all came here with us, and it's never left. It's just that we've forgotten that it's there, and we've forgotten how to connect to it. And to connect to it is to be true to yourself, and to be in flow with yourself, and that's when you start to feel good and it starts to come back. And earlier, a few hours ago, I did some meditation, and I was thinking of the experience, and some of those fantastic feelings just started to come back and flow through me. And I'm very, very grateful. Of course, when you're in there, you are gratitude, all right? And it's not a thought. Okay, that's what's really hard for me to understand at the moment. Is gratitude is not like judgment. It's not a thought that's just in my mind. Gratitude, and I think it's because it's a feeling, right? And I sort of thought in words before I did this. I thought, because it seemed to make sense to me from what I've been learning over the last year and a half, maybe all my life. I thought that it made perfect sense that we would be here to learn through feeling. And I could put that in words, but now I've felt that. I've felt it to a point, to an extent that again, it's completely inconceivable you cannot describe. And so you feel this immense gratitude. You become gratitude, and that is something really important to understand. In that sort of moment when you let go of judgment, you become judgmentless, so to speak. You become love. You become gratitude. You become all the fantastic things that you are inside you, that you have always been, and that you always will be, and that you came to this physical experience with. And you're happy to be in the experience. That's what it is. And you're completely aware, you're completely conscious. I had my eyes closed. I'm pretty sure that if I'd wanted to get up and walk, I could have done it. But at no point did that desire occur to me. I was in there, and I was there to enjoy it and to learn and to find myself and to be freed. And it was fantastic. It was fantastic. I mean, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. I cannot understand. I cannot understand why anybody would not want that, other than the fact that you cannot know what it is until you've experienced it. So all I can really say to you, whoever's watching this, and I hope you're watching this, Guillaume, I really do. I hope one day you will change your mind, because Guillaume's my brother, and he said I sent long messages, and I had a long talk on the phone, and I got pretty emotional and everything. I spilled my heart out, and he just remained closed. And I could feel that, because at the end, he was just telling me thoughts, saying, well, I'm very glad that you found this, which is essentially saying, that's not for me. Well, it is for you, because it is you. Your truth is for no one else but you. So you cannot say that to discover your own truth is not for you. You cannot say that to rediscover gratitude, lack of fear, or lack of judgment, or whatever it is that you're going to find in there, all the things that you're going to discover that you are and that you are not, that you thought you were, you cannot say that that's not for you. That's for me, that doesn't make any sense. So I do not understand why anybody would not want to do that. To be free of lies, to be able to discover what it is to be in flow with yourself, and to be able to recognize those feelings in daily life after, and to be able to utilize that to be happy, and to hopefully to be a better version of yourself. And I hope my mother's watching this. Oh, Maman, I love you. And any friends of mine who are watching this, whatever you think of this is wrong. Whatever you think of this is not true, is not correct, it's not accurate. Whatever you think you know about this or about anything else, you don't. You don't. So I think humanity as a whole needs to experience this. I think the world would be an immensely better place if we all did this, if we all managed to connect to ourselves like this. And maybe there are other ways, surely there are other ways. But this gets rid of any resistance. You, as Chito, who organizes this, says, you connect or you connect. There's no choice. There's no way around it. So, okay, I've told you a bit of that. Now I'll tell you how it happens. I'll tell you how what you do, at least when you do it with this person. I think it's Dr. Cesar de Moray, great guy. Seems like a genuinely nice, humble person, loving and everything. He's just he seems like a really nice guy. He's made these custom glass tubes, and there are two pipes that go in. One that's connected to the air, just to the outside of the tube. There's a cork seal, a rubber seal, and the other tube's got a plastic tube that you will put in your mouth. So what happens is he starts to heat. He puts 50 milligrams of this yellowish, whitish yellow powder, which is the dried venom, I think, in the tube. He heats it up with a lighter, and he says, when I count to 3, you're going to inhale deeply, and then you're going to breathe absolutely everything out. And once you've done that, you take the tube, you stick it in your gob, and then you inhale through your mouth. You inhale slowly, and you inhale the whole thing, all the smoke that's in this tube. And so you go. Now, for me, it was a bit difficult at first, because I was starting to breathe out a bit through the nose, and he said, no, you've got to breathe it all in, and it did demand an effort, but I managed to do it. And I think if you've never smoked before, which I don't smoke, but I have smoked, once in a while or whatever. I've smoked some stuff, like once or twice a year or whatever. You do need. I would recommend that you learn how to inhale. Maybe find yourself some organic tobacco, not the nasty chemical stuff that they sell. And try to inhale through the mouth like that. And get used to that. Get used to that so that you don't cough this thing up, because you've only got 10 seconds to before this thing it dies out from the heat and everything. Okay, so you need to inhale it in one go, and you do this, and after about 5 seconds, for me, you start to feel incredibly good, and it hasn't quite hit you yet, but you know something really big is going to happen, something amazing is going to happen. You already know that. You start to feel this amazing feeling of light or love or whatever throughout all your body, peace, complete peace. You can feel that you're starting to become, I feel like saying perfection, but maybe that's too cheesy, I don't know. You start to become peaceful, and a few seconds later, that's it. After 5 already, you start to you start to want to lie down, and the guy helps you, and you just lie down, and 3 to 5 seconds later, that's it. Boom, you're in there. You're in there. There's no way you can resist this. It's just technically impossible. I think you're just sent right in there, and that right in there is whoosh, right inside you to the deepest possible level. And I would say that the feeling that I get is that what you see, this yellowish white light with your eyes closed, of course, and on the fractals and everything, my feeling is that is your consciousness. And so you've got this direct communication, right? This mega optical fiber connection with your consciousness. That's the way I interpret it now. I might change, my interpretation on that. I've obviously got no scientific data, if that's what you need for you to believe things, to back that up. This is my intuition. This is my feeling, and believe me, I'm starting to trust my feelings a hell of a lot more than my thoughts now. Thoughts, most of the time, they're just bollocks. They're just nonsense. And so you start to be in contact with your own consciousness, really. And your consciousness is how you arrived here in this experience. It doesn't matter what your mind believes. It doesn't matter. We are all the same, whether you want it or not. Whether you want to be an atheist or not. Whether you want to be pessimistic or deterministic or whatever it is. Whatever your mind has tricked you into thinking is true. It doesn't matter. We are all the same. We are all exactly like that. We all come from exactly the same place, consciousness. And we're all going back there, and we all have this consciousness inside us. And if we want to be the best possible version of ourselves, I think we need to connect to that through feeling and through being true to ourselves. That's our mission on this planet, is to learn through feeling and to be the best possible version of ourselves. And that is to be in touch with who we really are. We're not fear. We're not violence. We're not pain. We're not our thoughts. They're not our mind. And that's why when people meditate, they try to shut off their mind. And when you manage to do that, you get into a state of, I don't know if it's nirvana, I have no idea, but you get into a state after about 10 minutes, once you're used to it, get into this fabulous state where you feel fantastic, and that might influence your mood for the rest of the day. You're gonna feel great, you're gonna feel energized, you're gonna feel determined to do things. Well, if you felt that in meditation, I have felt that in meditation a few times. This is that, but multiplied by infinity. Yeah, there is no limit to it. There's no number to it. There's no, yeah. It's that feeling of perfection to infinity. Anyway, it's been 30 minutes. I should probably stop babbling on. There's so many other things that I could say about it. I just want, I want this for all of humanity, really. And I used to think that people deserved things only when they thought they deserved them, you know. And the you don't want it, you don't get it. Okay, that's true. You don't want it, you don't get it. But I thought that you would, if you didn't get it, it was because you didn't deserve it. But in fact, you do deserve it. You just need to become aware that you deserve it. And so if your mind has messed with you to the point where you're one of I've been there, so I know what that is. I know exactly what that is, and it seems to make sense. Your mind is always great at coming up with things that seem to make sense and convincing you of stuff, when actually those thoughts are only in your mind, so they cannot possibly have anything to do with anything around you. And your mind is not your consciousness. I mean, if you think that's the case, do everything you can to just get rid of that idea, because that is absolutely untrue, completely untrue. Your mind is not your consciousness. You are not your mind. And your mind is just giving you static and talking nonsense and taking you in all sorts of directions, and you need to learn to focus it if you want to be happy in life. If you want to be true to yourself, you need to stop trusting your mind so much and start going through the heart. And I was told that many months ago on my second day ayahuasca. I was told that by a guy, one of the guys, Miguel, who was organizing it, one of the three people. And he said to me, you've got to be more in touch with your heart. And I said, no, okay. And I turned my head away and to get my stuff. And he grabbed me by the arm really firmly. He's this big guy. He's really strong. And he grabbed me by the arm. He looked me eye. Really, you've got to go through the heart. And I didn't know what that meant. Oh, I did, but I didn't acknowledge it. I wasn't in touch with myself enough to feel it. Now I'm starting to feel that. And I've discovered, it's as if I've rediscovered myself. I was harsh on my brother. I was very, very severe in my judgment on my brother and my mother and on my dad and on everybody. Lots of people. I was just judging the whole time. Now, when I get a feeling of judgment, I can just say, you don't fool me. I'm better than that. That's just a thought in my mind. There's no such thing as judgment. It doesn't exist. That's just in my mind. Goodbye. Go away. And so, yeah, when I was in there, you feel so good. You've discovered something that you had forgotten was there, that you couldn't imagine or conceive. Your mind simply cannot imagine or conceive it. You have to feel it. And you want, that is so perfect and so beautiful. And you know you found something so precious that you want it for the people that you love, especially the people that you know are just bamboozled, or just, I'm using that in my own way. If that, I don't know what the real meaning in the dictionary is for that. And for me, I use it as messed up. Like my brother, he's not in touch with himself. He's in fear. He's not got the love of himself. He's probably got guilt. He's probably got all sorts of shame and things that are stopping him from being himself. He's listening to his mind tell him, yes, this knife, this gun, or whatever, because he just heaps up things. Is going to make him happy when it's not, when it's actually misleading him. And of course, it can't make you happy, Guillaume, because it's not the truth. It's not your truth. You did not come to this existence with a need to accumulate guns or knives or whatever it is. You did not come here with that, so it cannot be true. And if it's not true to you, it's only going to make you unhappy. You need to understand that. And it's the same for you, Mum, with all the things that you've bought and accumulated. They are not you. You did not come to this life with a need, a desire for these things or whatever. And even if no, you didn't. So they're not you, and that's why they're making you profoundly unhappy. So they got into your life a certain way. They're going to get out of your life the same exact way, but reversed. You take them in your hand and you stick them out and you say goodbye to them. That's it, and you will be so much better off. You'll be so much happier. And if you need help, you, anyone else, Mom, Dad, if you ever see this, I doubt that. My dad too. He says himself he's a lost soul, but he has got this in him. Everybody's got this in him. The love never left. We just hid it. We just let it. We just let ourselves we just convinced ourselves, or let our mind convince ourselves that we didn't have it anymore, that we have fear, that we have these thoughts and things. But it's always in here completely. And what this stuff does is it shows you that, boom, in your face. There's no way around it. You cannot lie to yourself anymore. It removes the lies. It removes the fucking lies to take the fucking stuff, man! Do yourself a favor. Do yourself the biggest favor in your life. Look it up. I don't know if there are any reasons to not do it if you're on certain meds. Probably there are. We were not asked about that. It's not like ayahuasca. It's not something you ingest. You need to find it within yourself to want to do this. You need to realize that and it's impossible because you don't know what it is. But no, it's not impossible. It's just that it's going to seem impossible. Why would you want something that you cannot conceive? It's like telling somebody who's never eaten anything in their life, you've really got to try, and let's imagine you've got this special breed of strawberries that is 1 billion times the intensity and flavor of strawberries, to a point where it just fills your body with perfection. And it's like telling somebody who's never eaten anything, who's never tasted anything, you really need to try these strawberries. They will change your life. They will bring you back. They will show you who you are. How would you do that? How would that person know what you're talking about? They can't. So you're going to need a little bit of faith in yourself. You're going to need to want to get better. You're going to want to. You need to become aware and conscious that you're better than this. You're better than this. You're so much fucking better. If you can't feel gratitude in your life, then do this. If you can't feel happiness and peace in your life, then do this. If you're not moved to almost to tears when you see a sunset, when you look at the trees or whatever, when you see beauty, if you don't deeply enjoy something that you're eating when you're hungry or something, some fresh fruit or something, to a point where you're moved and grateful, then you're not connected to yourself. So my advice: forget everything I've ever said, forget everything you ever thought you knew, and go and reconnect with yourself. Go and find yourself again. Go and find happiness. Go and find peace. Go and find love. Go and find that you are not your mind. Peace. Peace to everybody. I really, really hope that one day I manage to love everybody from the bottom of my heart, because that's who we are. And the only thing that can prevent you from doing that is fear. And we're not fear, right? If you're afraid to love and to open up, it's just fear. And in that case, what this thing might do to you is just show you your fear, and it'll force you to face it. It's your consciousness will force yourself to face it and to get over it. And oh yeah, I said I would say something about the other people's experience. One girl thought she was dying, and I hadn't done it at that point, so I was like, it's a little bit scary. But I saw that everybody's experience was different, and I just trusted in myself, in this experience, in that I was going to get what I needed anyway. I had no idea it was going to be so good and so useful and so fantastic. Anyway, she was there, and she immediately she took this up, and she immediately just went, I feel very, very bad. And she just kept repeating that and said, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. She's like, please, please, my love, get me out of here. And she's right, the only thing that can get you away from fear is love. And that's the opposite of fear. If you manage to fill yourself with love, there is no place left for fear anyway. And the guy, and they had to help. They actually had to hold her down because she literally wanted to get up and get out of this place. And everybody was just really calm and peaceful and very reassuring. And she just said, almost laughing, and just said, "No, it's nothing. You see, you're still here. You've been telling us for 15 minutes that you're going to die, but you're still here. And so you're just facing your fears, and you need to face them, and that's it. Just face them. Go deal with it, and you will get over it, and that's it, and it will set you free." And that's what happened to her. And she, as 100% of the people at that thing, came out with smiles on their faces, happy, relieved, amazed that they had this in them the whole time, and nobody regretted doing that. Even the few people that had a tough experience, they were just being shown what they needed to be shown to be happier and to be more free.